Welcome to the Culinary Saijiki podcast. My name is Allison Whipple, and twice a month I'll bring you a conversation with a fellow haiku practitioner about the way that food and the seasons show up in their haiku practice. Visit www.culinarysaijiki.com to listen to the podcast, read long-form essays on these topics, and sign up to join the podcast conversation. You can also support the project at buymeacoffee.com/culinarysaijiki. Enjoy the show. Welcome to episode 3 of the Culinary Saijiki podcast. You might hear some birds in the background. I really hope that you can. I'm recording this from John's family cabin out in the Illinois woods, where he and I have just come for the night to chill out and work on projects and be away from the internet and things like that. Some announcements. The big one is that this podcast is now available on the Google Podcast platform as well as the Amazon podcast platform. I'm pretty excited about that. So we were already on Anchor. That's the hosting service I chose. We were already on Spotify. But if you like to use the Google or Amazon interfaces, you can find us there now. Still waiting on that Apple podcast acceptance. That's the big one. That's the most challenging one. But maybe by next episode, that will happen. If you were wondering about my microphone situation, I still cannot find my designated mic. I know it's not lost. It's just, you know how it is when you're moving. We're still in our transitional space. But John's sister found this random microphone that they don't remember buying. And it's not the same as mine, but it works really well. I'm pretty pleased with the sound quality. So it's going to just gonna be my backup for the time being. And who knows, maybe I'll discover I like it so much that I stick with it. I guess we'll see. Over on the blog, the most recent post is an annotation of a summer Kigo based on seasonal produce. I was trying a new format this time, similar to the Haiku Almanac, and so far people seem to have liked it. If you haven't seen that post yet, go over there. I'm welcoming comments, especially if you have particular opinions on whether or not you like this format. All right, so today we have Claire Vogel Camargo. She is another fixture of the Austin poetry scene, someone I have known for years, so long that, again, I don't entirely remember where we met, but probably through the Austin Poetry Society when we were both board members. And Claire is one of the nicest, kindest people I have ever met, and it's listening back on this episode, of course I roped all of my Austin friends to doing recordings with me before I left, but I'm so glad I did, because, you know, we've had lots of conversations, me and the Austin Haiku poets, but, you know, they were all, and they took place in real life, and it was great to see people, but they were all ephemeral. And I think back to this project that John did many years ago before we knew each other, where he recorded several audio CDs worth of his grandmother telling stories about her life, probably about 20 hours worth of audio. And while I have not gotten 20 hours worth of audio, it's nice to think about his project and think, I have these beautiful, sweet little recordings of me and some of my dearest Austin friends before I left, and I'll be able to treasure those recordings and have just something to go back and listen to of us talking, no matter what. I will always have those, and that makes me super happy. So I'm glad I went and did that. And of course, you can still be a part of the podcast even if you don't live in my area, but I'll go over reminders about that in the outro. One other thing I wanted to note is you might have noticed that the theme music and transitions were not the same in the second episode as they were in the first episode. I am new to podcasting. Again, lots of things I didn't know I needed to learn. But when I went to Anchor to set up Krista's episode, the theme and transitions that I had selected and loved for Agnes's episode were not there. They still existed in the that podcast I'd selected, but I could not select them for this one. Try as I might, I did every help forum. I read all the documentation. I was stuck, so I just found something else that I liked and used it. I don't know what's going to. I'm recording this all before I put the upload and put the music in, so I have no idea what's going to happen this week. But it has just reiterated to me the importance of just finding someone to make theme music for us. I'd actually tried that before I started the podcast through Fiverr and had just an unfortunately terrible experience. So if you do want to help the podcast, one of the things you can do is refer me to someone who would like to make us a little intro and outro music and a little transition sound. And again, I believe in paying artists for the work, so I will pay for these services. I just need a recommendation because there's a lot of people out there, and word of mouth is my favorite way of finding someone. Another way to support the podcast, I'm still looking for help with sound editing for episode 4. So if you know a sound editor who would like, who has some free space in their schedule and would like some work, please send their information my way. I would be happy to reach out to them. And of course, even if you don't know any composers or sound editors, if you want to support this project in other ways, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/culinary-saijiki and make a one-time or recurring financial contribution. All right, and I think that's it. Let's go talk with Claire about food and family. Claire Vogel Camargo discovered her poetry muse later in life, in the shower. Jumping into haiku in 2015, she placed or received honorable mentions in contests, including first place in the My Haiku Pond Academy Annual Contest 2017, a 2018 Sakura Award in the Vancouver Cherry Blossom Haiku Festival. She was runner-up in the Snapshot Press Haiku Calendar Competition for 2021, and also a Trailblazer 2021 contest long list, and a Haiku Foundation Touchstone Award for Individual Poem 2020 nominee, and that's just a part of it. A published Japanese short-form poet, Claire also writes free verse. Her poems appear in a number of journals and anthologies, and her book, Iris Opening, an ekphrastic collection, was published in 2017. An active member over the years in the Writers League of Texas, Austin Poetry Society, and British Haiku Society, Haiku North America, and Haiku Society of America, as well as the Tanka Society of America, she attends poetry festivals and conferences whenever possible. A retired nurse, she lives with her chef/ice sculptor husband in Austin, Texas. All right, welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
All right, would you like to read your first 2 haiku for us?
Yes, thank you. Crepes Suzette, he rarely gives flowers. Crepes Suzette, he rarely gives flowers. First summer, he woos me with squash flower soup. First summer, he woos me with squash flower soup.
All right, thank you. The Crepes Suzette one appealed to me among the list you sent me because the way I read it, I saw it as, this person may not give flowers, but crepes are difficult. And so to me that was a beautiful haiku about the ways in which we show love, and maybe the speaker in the haiku wishes for flowers, but also there's that acknowledgement that this person puts a lot of work into other acts of love, such as food.
Exactly. You hit it on the nose right there. It's nice to receive flowers, but his way of showing his love was to make the crepe Suzette, and in actuality, that takes a lot more time, forethought, effort, and who knows, depending on how slowly or fast you eat the crepe Suzette, they may or may not last longer than the flowers.
Yeah. That one really made me think of my, as well, my 2020 and 2021 birthdays, which were, big COVID birthdays. Not a fan. And so April 2020, that was when things were really, really locked down. And John went and he made me chili relleno in the sort of Pueblan style. There's many styles of chili relleno. And so he made the really fancy upscale restaurant way. And then also, even though this is an entirely different food culture, but cannoli from scratch. And then for my 2021 birthday, he did full ramen with full-on tonkatsu broth that takes it's 12 or 13 hours at a rapid boil, so you can't just leave it. Made the noodles from scratch with his pasta maker, everything. So I really, as someone whose partner really shows love through cooking, that one really resonated with me.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
And the first summer, I haven't gotten to eat squash blossoms yet because they just, I see them and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do goat cheese stuffed squash blossoms, and then they just disappear so fast, I feel like. But tell me more about the squash blossom soup and the experience of that led to that haiku.
Well, I think it was the first time that I could remember having someone make me something to eat that actually had real flowers in it at the time that it was being made. So that was a big surprise. And actually, we had a garden, a small garden, and so he grew and plucked those squash flower blossoms, and which the yellow is so pretty, the bright cherry color and soft petals, and I wasn't sure what the consistency was going to be like, but the soup and the flowers in them were very soft, and it was very nice. It wasn't a strong flavor. It was just a unique experience, and I really liked it.
And is it the uniqueness of it that connects back to that sort of romantic wooing, or is it something about the soup itself and the flowers themselves?
Oh, good question. I think I would have to answer both. I think it's the uniqueness, new experience for me, and the fact that he's the one who made it with his own hands, and that it was something that we shared together. So I thought that was an auspicious beginning in its own way.
It definitely is. It's a very I think good food makes for a good auspicious beginning to things. like with every good hike, you need to eat a good breakfast beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know some people don't, but I'm a big believer in the pre-hike.
Would that be carb loading, like if you're going to take a run?
Yeah. All right. The next two.
The grape scent of mountain laurel, almost home. The grape scent of mountain laurel, almost home. Family hike, my best burger eaten cold on a cold mountain. Family hike, my best burger eaten cold on a cold mountain.
So I try to discuss these in the order you read them, but I'm so intrigued by the best burger haiku. So I have to dive into that first because I don't want to forget my question. So I'm sort of thinking of, again, the segue into hiking that was unintentional. Like, sometimes you go on a really rough hike, and even if the food is just, ugh, it's like it's the best food you've ever had because you're tired and cold and exhausted. And that's what I sort of think of is like the when I was, my first backpacking trip was Guadalupe Peak. A little ambitious for the first time. Wow. And I was so tired. We got to we stopped just below the summit, and I was like, I'm just too tired to eat. And John was like, you have to eat something. So I ate some, it was like one of those packets of the like vacuum sealed HEB soup, and it was just the best soup. So is that
Yes. Yeah. I remember this very clearly. We were taking a family vacation. We were in Estes Park, Colorado, and my father, brother, and I went with the on one of those park ranger led hikes. I don't remember which mountain it was or what lake we might have gotten to. My mother had gotten up very early also, and she had made hamburger patties and wrapped them individually in foil. I remember it so clearly. And there was nothing added to them. There were no frills, no garnishes, no pickles or anything else. And so halfway through the hike, people sat on a rock or the grass or next near the trail or whatever we were looking at, and brought out whatever they were going to eat. And I remember, and of course, and she had also put those burgers wrapped in each individually in the foil in the refrigerator, so they were cold before we even started. You wouldn't think that something was that delicious. A hamburger patty, cold, but it was the best thing ever. It was delicious. I was tired and hungry. It was cold, and I was loving every minute of it. I mean, beautiful scenery. I was with my family. Had something that my mother had made, and I don't know if I could eat another burger cold again and have it taste as delicious as that did.
No, that I can definitely relate to that context of outdoors and tired, and yet you have something homemade and lovely, and it's just,
yeah,
it's wonderful.
Great memory. Yeah,
very much. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the Mountain Laurel, which is I'm going to miss those when I leave Texas. Oh, I love them. That's my favorite scent, but I was interested in what made you go with and you're not the first person I've heard call it a grape scent, but I'm very intrigued by like why you associate that with grape.
Well, because and this actually had to do with a walk in the neighborhood. And I guess I really didn't know about Mountain Laurel per se. But I noticed these, the purple blossoms on this tree or bush or bushy tree along our street, and that when I walked past, I picked up the scent of grape. Which was very distinctive, and later I did go look it up on the computer. I did a search to make sure I wasn't imagining things, and indeed, Mountain Laurel does or can have the grape scent. And I associate it, now this is going to date me, I associate it with Delaware Punch, a popular soda decades ago. And I happened to, on this walk in the neighborhood, I happened to pick up that scent and see the purple flowers just before I reached the house. And so I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And I think that one's always been curious to me, but as you're talking, my brain is, of course, just like running through possibilities, because I have not had a lot of experience with wild grapes in my life. I've seen like Mustang grapes in Texas, but they weren't at a point where they would be especially fragrant, if at all. So I'm thinking, the grapes you keep in your refrigerator, well, those don't have much of a smell. But I'm like, oh, wild grapes must be super fragrant, and I just haven't experienced that really in any major way, and that must be where that association comes from, I think.
Yeah, I have not had experience with wild grapes either. That's interesting, yes, that you asked that question. So the grape scent, I guess I associated it with the Delaware Punch soda from long ago in my childhood.
Yeah, I definitely, I associate it with like artificial grape. Like,
yes.
Yeah, there was like, I can't remember what I think it was called Bubble Yum when I was a kid, and it was these huge, like, I don't know, 1/4-inch thick chunks of gum and.
Oh, yes, yeah, and of course, the grape scent in some candy things.
Yeah.
I started to say sweet tarts, but I don't know if the sour probably overpowers the actual grape scent. But I can certainly taste a grape scent in a chewable antihistamine.
Yeah.
Now.
And I think I could be wrong.
And Welch's grape juice.
Yeah, well, that's Concord grape, and I think a lot of
Concord. Uh-huh.
I think a lot of, especially in candy, a lot of that is based on Concord grape, which again I haven't had grape juice since I was a child. Like, nothing against it, I just don't buy it, and I've never lived in an area where you would encounter a wild Concord grape or anything.
Yeah,
so.
And those hard candies, is it Jolly Roger?
Jolly Rancher.
Jolly Rancher.
Oh yeah.
Of the different flavors, and so grape is one of them.
Yeah.
And grape jelly was my mother's favorite jelly, and I remember her putting that on my toast. It's fun to think of these associations.
Yeah, I was wondering, obviously if you've lived in Texas, like Mountain Laurel smells like home, but is that the grape jelly association? Does that reinforce the sense of home for you?
Grape jelly, yes, it does. It reinforces the sense of mom.
Yeah,
and that was the jelly that she had to put on my toast, and so that's what I was accustomed to, and I liked it, and she liked it, and so I suppose that was one of the things we bonded over was grape jelly.
Yeah. Well, speaking of family, you have two haiku that to me really spoke a lot about family in relation to food and how those two things are really entwined.
Mm-hmm. Chocolate chip cookies in an old tin, Grandma's ring. Chocolate chip cookies in an old tin, Grandma's ring. Yellow layer cakes, little me cooking with Mom and Betty Crocker. Yellow layer cakes, little me cooking with Mom and Betty Crocker.
In that first haiku, I was really interested in that juxtaposition between the old tin of cookies, and you said it was your grandmother's wedding ring
Yes.
when we were exchanging emails. And I think I'd sort of assumed it was a wedding ring, but I'm glad you clarified that. And I just sort of think, I think about in like, John still has like the really old tin can that his grandmother used to make pudding in. Oh. It's super old.
Huh. What's the shape?
It's round. It's sort of a little more like a tea tin than like a, you know, aluminum can with a
Yeah.
pop top. But you know, like it's those old things, they last and they're super interesting. But anyway, I was intrigued by the juxtaposition of the old tin full of cookies and the ring, and I was wondering if you wanted to talk about that one a little more.
That's another meaningful memory and image for me. My grandmother and my aunt with her would make delicious chocolate chip cookies. And one time, actually it was after my grandmother had already passed away, and so my aunt would make chocolate chip cookies. She also made a marvelous marble cake too. One day in the mail, a package comes, and in it is one of those round tins that you see now that, or that you see at Christmas time, that people put cookies in, or homemade baked goods, that sort of thing. So it's lined with foil, and I open it up, and the aroma of those delicious chocolate chip cookies rises up, and then I notice that there's a little box in there, and it was my grandmother's ring, wedding ring. Actually, this stone right here.
Oh, wow.
I had to get a different setting because it was in such a thin setting that when I was wearing it and I caught it on something and I almost took my finger off.
Ooh.
And so I thought, well, this might not be a good idea. And so put it in a little bit thicker setting. But that was a very meaningful memory and stays with me to this day, the scent of chocolate chip cookies in my grandmother's wedding ring. And my love for her and wish that I had spent more time with her too. I wish I had known when I was little how to talk or visit as much as I know how to now.
Yeah.
I wonder if other people feel that way.
That's something I absolutely I feel about both of my grandmothers. My maternal grandmother died when I was only 6 years old, so that was, you know, that was just cut tragically short. But my paternal grandmother, and I also associate her with baking, she would do just the most incredible birthday cakes every year. And she my paternal grandfather was he was a minister, and they would go on do missionary work. And I don't know all the stories because I was young and, you know, didn't think to, you know, ask the stories. But I guess they, you know, on some of their mission work, I guess they'd been to Cuba, and they had this like giant thing of Cuban vanilla, which as a young child, like, I didn't love. Like, it was a little weird on my palate. I'm like, it wasn't like the vanilla extract I was used to. But she would still, like, there'd be these, like, just gorgeous cakes that every birthday you'd get one and it was related to something from the past year of your life.
Oh.
Like, one year she made me, like, a ballet cake for my first ballet recital, and it was lovely. But, like, the taste was always just so weird for me because this, like, intense vanilla was so... I'm a young child, like, I don't have the palate for this.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, oh, I wish I could have one of those again, very much. Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could see a picture of that ballerina cake.
Yeah, I'll see if my dad can dig them up. He's got so many photos. He'll probably listen to this and then just, like, send me a whole slew of photos.
Oh, yeah. It'd be interesting to have a collection of all the different cakes.
Yeah.
Photos of those.
And I'm sure they're not all scanned yet, you know. I mean, this was a long time ago, but it would be nice to have those. And yeah, I do. I still like, I know so little of either of my grandmother's histories, and
Yes.
I really wish I could,
I didn't know the questions to ask either, and
Yeah.
I so regret that.
Yeah.
And some people have more of an interest in history, family history, or anecdotes of family or things like that than others. It, did she ever teach you the recipe?
No, I think so. She had Parkinson's, so it got to a point where she really even couldn't bake
Yeah.
anymore. And so it just, but I'm sure, honestly, probably my aunt has it.
Yeah.
or there was no recipe, and she could just do this by heart, and there was no recipe.
Yes, I think that's the way grandmothers do it, and that was one thing that I wished I had learned how to make her chocolate chip cookies, and also apple pie. Oh my gosh, I haven't ever tasted any apple pie like hers since then. And it was just for me a unique, lovely flavor.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, layer. I don't want to neglect the layer cakes. That was a nice little talk about grandmothers. But the layer cakes, that's when I also I was in the, I don't know, were there easy bake ovens when you were a kid?
I really don't know.
Okay. I don't know how far easy bake ovens go back, but I remember like I had one, and there was like this special Betty Crocker, like we had Betty Crocker, but like I remember the Betty Crocker like branded stuff for easy bake ovens that made like little sort of single serving cakes for kids and things.
Cute.
And my mom showing me like how to use it, and I probably they were probably a huge fire hazard, so making sure I didn't burn the house down.
Yeah.
I'm like I think I go back and someone pointed out that these were just like tiny convection ovens or toaster ovens that they were like marketing to children. I'm like, was that even really that safe? Who knows?
Yeah. There were a lot of things I didn't worry about.
Yeah,
when
no.
they were little.
But tell me more about the layer cakes and baking them.
I don't know why I felt like I was the cake baker for a while when I was little and growing up. I did have a Betty Crocker cookbook, and I think I saved it, but I don't know where it is. I think it was for kids, and so I would make the cakes and put them in the layer pans and cook them and take them out and ice them, and I just thought it was so much fun. And of course Mom was there, and everyone loved the cakes and ate them, and so I had fun making them, licking my fingers or the beaters, and then everyone enjoying the cake, and I felt like the little cake baker. So when I was little and in middle school, and I don't remember when I stopped making the cakes, but that was a nice memory.
Yeah, that's sweet to have like a tradition that you sort of have.
Yeah.
Or like your thing that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one time I ventured into pies, and I made a chiffon pie.
Those are hard.
Yeah, and it was gone in 2 minutes, and I should have, felt complimented, but I didn't. I was upset because it took me so long to make that pie, and then it was gone so quickly that I think I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. You had that experience?
I have not had that experience. I inadvertently caused that experience for someone else. So this is back in college. There was a Japan club, and I was not in the Japan club, but the Japan club once, it was like one Saturday night, they're gonna free sushi in the basement of the dining hall, and it was like a late night sushi thing. I don't know, it was probably like 9 p.m., not that late, but late enough. And so, this is like college, rural, middle of nowhere Ohio, so it's like, oh, there's gonna be free sushi. Like, there was just like it was in the bottom dining hall, and there was just like a horde of us at the doors, and they open them up and let us in, and we're just, we're starved piranhas, we're starved piranhas, my friend was one of the people in Japan Club, and she was like, they all had their traditional kimonos or other Japanese garb on, and she just like looks so sad. She's like, we spent all day on this and it's all gone. And I felt so bad because I contributed to that.
Yes, their pleasure was over in a moment.
Yeah.
And so I guess if they spend a certain number of hours preparing everything, they wanted to have the pleasure for hours of watching you all.
Yeah, and we were just horrible ravenous
animals.
We were just ravenous college animals. It was terrible.
Yeah, poor things.
I know. All right, so you have 2 more for us.
Okay. The bright side. A chocolate milkshake after the dentist. The bright side. A chocolate milkshake after the dentist. Playing grown-up. A drop of coffee in my milk. Plain grown-up. A drop of coffee in my milk.
How old were you when you started drinking coffee?
I have never started drinking coffee.
Oh, really?
Yes. I remember that I was little. My brother and I were both little. I don't remember if he had any. But I remember my parents had gone out, and the babysitter, who was could have been I suppose she could have been my grandmother. She was an older lady. And so she heated up some milk. And I can't remember if she made coffee for herself and was drinking coffee. Perhaps that's what was happening. And so I may have asked if I could have some. I don't remember, but I remember she put a drop of coffee in my milk so that I felt grown up and like I was having a cup of coffee with her.
Aw, that's sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's a. I don't think anyone ever. I never asked for coffee. I think because once I remember that I was maybe 4 years old, and my dad was drinking some red wine, and it was probably like Carlo Rossi or something, or Franzia. I could be wrong, but I just remember like jugs of Carlo Rossi when I was a kid for like special dinners, and I couldn't have been more than 4, and I told my dad I wanted some, and he gave me a sip of wine, and I was just like, which, hey, good job, Dad. He kept me, like, I didn't drink, I was not even tempted to drink in high school, like a lot of my peers, because I was just like, I remember having wine when I was 4, and it was the worst thing ever. So, good job on those parenting instincts, Dad, but I never really, like, trusted my parents' beverages after that.
Oh, that's funny.
I do obviously drink coffee now, but that was not a big thing.
Well, I don't know why I didn't start drinking coffee. I think when I tasted it, I didn't think it was good. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like one of those things that you don't understand why the older folks want to drink it or eat it, because it tastes awful. But I do like coffee flavored ice cream.
I do too.
And tiramisu.
Yes.
So
I loved coffee. I didn't really start drinking coffee until I was probably 24. But I've always loved coffee ice cream because it's like, it's the creaminess and the sweetness, but then there's that hint of the bitterness that like makes it so umami for me. I guess there's no salt, so it's not really umami, but it's like all those flavors. But I didn't really like coffee until I had a boyfriend who did French press coffee. And French press coffee so I'd had I'd been around drip coffee my whole life, and certainly in college I would like drink it to stay awake because it was just plenty, like, abundant all the time. But drip coffee like is different, and it like strips out a lot of the oils. And with French press it maintains a lot of the oil. And I was like, so I got really into French press coffee because it has that like fattiness to it. And then for a while, I worked for the guy who owns Kick Butt Coffee. I wasn't a barista, but I did the whole like barista for a day training class and just learned to appreciate coffee, and so that's how that wound up for me.
Interesting. And I did not drink their coffee, but I have read poetry there.
So have I. It's kind of
on their little stage.
Yeah. I'm like, tomorrow's my last Sunday. I'm like, maybe I should try to go and hit up that open mic tomorrow.
Yeah.
One more time.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like most of the Austin poets have read there at some point.
Yeah.
Whether it was
if they participated in the Austin International Poetry Festival,
or that Sunday night open mic.
Is Tom there for that?
Usually.
Yeah.
But I do have to get to Kick Butt one more time before I leave at some point.
There was something delicious I had there too. Do you remember what it was?
Was it food?
Yes.
Yeah, they have a lot of delicious things.
Yeah. So. I remember I really liked the salad.
Oh, yeah.
I love vinaigrettes.
Yeah.
And so there was a certain flavor they had that I liked very much. And I remember I liked my sandwich very much, too.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
That chicken salad they have is good.
Mm.
And the bright side, that first haiku you read, that one made me laugh because, like, I think my sister and I would get rewards for going to the dentist, but I'm not sure we would get ice cream. But, like, clearly that's a thing because actually, like, a couple of days after you sent me these haiku, a friend of mine posted on Instagram or Facebook, like, that her daughter, like, had gotten all clear at the dentist and she took her to the milkshake bar at the Domain.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, this is what Claire wrote about, and it's still a thing that happens.
Yeah, and I suppose, and this was more current, appreciating and remembering having to go for some dental things, and getting so numb on the one side of the mouth from those injections before working on a cavity or root canal or whatever's involved. And I suppose it affected my swallow technique some, and so I kind of started that that I do now also to get a chocolate milkshake.
I totally read this as being about being a kid.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I'm a big kid in many ways. So, that certainly was a childhood experience, but it's my adult experience, too.
Yeah.
It takes a little of the edge off. A little reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So do you have any last thoughts about haiku or your haiku process, or about food and haiku? And just anything you want to say that I haven't asked you or brought up?
I don't... I discovered my poetry muse later in life, and I didn't realize that I guess I was thinking of poetry things over the years, and didn't realize it when I'd be riding in the car and scribbling thoughts in a nutshell, or what could have... I lost a lot of my scraps of what it could have been used for haiku, but I love haiku or senryu. I always say senryu. Because it's such a great way to put your thoughts down just in a nutshell, because I think so many times just watching life and people around me or animals, that you can take just a glance at what they are saying or doing, what is transpiring, and something just clicks and you make a connection of some kind, and it's such a great way just to put your thoughts down in a nutshell. And then the challenge of trying to fit some of the prescriptives around how to write the haiku But I feel so very happy that I discovered haiku and are friends with people who also enjoy it. And it's a very fun and stimulating intellectually and challenging fun thing to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking with me, and this was super fun. I'm glad we got to record this.
Thank you so much, Allison, for inviting me to do this. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Thanks again to Claire for having this delightful conversation with me in her home. I had a wonderful time, and I think she did too. And I'd like to also give a shout out, Claire, thanks for sending me a revised copy of your book that I bought so long ago. It's nice to have that updated copy in my collection. The next episode is August 2nd with Christine Wank Harrison. That'll be the last of my Austin Haiku Poets series. And I am excited. I have not recorded with these people yet, but I have some non-Austin poets lined up for some Zoom recordings. I've got 2 episodes. One is scheduled for recording. One is sort of in the works with recording. And I'm not going to tell you who they are. I don't want to just spoil it all at once, but some people whose work I really respect, and I'm super excited that they want to be on the podcast. So there is definitely a lot to look forward to, a lot I'm excited about. If you want to be part of the podcast, go to culinarysaijiki.com and click the Join the Conversation link, fill out the Google form, and I will be in touch. And just a reminder, those ways you can support the podcast, put me in touch with a sound editor for some assistance that I need recording the next or editing the next episode, or put me in touch with someone who can compose theme and transition music so we have a dedicated one that doesn't just disappear from the ether. And of course, you can always support through Buy Me a Coffee. All right, I'm going to keep this short because I do love this cabin, but it does not have air conditioning, and it's about 90 degrees, and I had to turn off the box fan to do the recording, and I'm getting a little sweaty. So that's that. I'm waiting for John to come back with some foraged fresh mushrooms from the woods for us to have for dinner. The porcinis are not abundant yet, but hopefully there's some chicken of the woods or some chanterelles ready to go. Chanterelles are my favorite, so I'm hoping conditions are right and those are doing well. All right, I will see you next time. Thanks for listening.